Good evening. That story in just a moment. First, a shooting at the state capitol led to the formation of the Capitol Police almost 10 years ago.
Secretary of State Jesse White says this force formed so that would never happen again, and so far it hasn't.
In tonight's special report, News Channel 20's Eric Feldman takes us back to 2004 and a look toward the future for the men and women who guard the Capitol doors.
You enter the state capitol in Springfield, and they're the first people who greet you, the Capitol Police. They've only been around for 10 years, not after or because of 9/11, but from a tragedy that struck a chord at the Capitol almost 11 years ago. This from a Channel 20 report from September 20th, 2004.
The Capitol and neighboring schools are placed on lockdown, and the massive search for the armed suspect begins.
The newscast came on and said that something happened at the Capitol. I called up a good friend of mine, Rosie Gannan, and said, "Rosie, what's going on up there?" And she said, "It's Bill."
51-year-old Bill Wozniak was an unarmed guard at the state capitol. He was shot and killed on that September 20th day while on guard. Rich Brower was a state representative from Petersburg at the time and knew Wozniak for almost 30 years.
Bill was my age, and so when you're in a small town like Petersburg, that anytime somebody moves in, you know, you'd get to know him pretty quick. And it was the guy from Detroit. It was Wild Bill from Detroit.
This gentleman performed his duties with honor and distinction.
And almost 11 years later, Secretary of State Jesse White still remembers.
Here's a man who's trying to take care of his family, raise his children, and to keep the people who come to this complex safe and out of harm's way. And at the same time, he loses his life in the process.
And the Capitol changed forever.
We made a decision to create within the Secretary of State Department of Police another police division that was germane. We wanted to make sure that the investigators that were working here were specially trained to work in this building.
White and the General Assembly crafted legislation to have an armed force, the Capitol Police, to protect the people's building and the rest of the Capitol complex, instead of the unarmed guards of past. The new force was ready in 2005.
Once you become a sworn law enforcement officer, you have training. You know how to respond to incidents. You have a level of training that unarmed people really do not have.
To Rich Brower, an unfortunate but necessary change.
I wish it was a different world. It's a different day. The Capitol Police are there. I'm afraid to stay, and you know, we just have to make adjustments.
If, God forbid, something happened, how quickly could you secure the Capitol?
I'm confident that we would be able to secure the building quickly and provide for the safety and security of both the members of the General Assembly, the employees here, as well as the public here on the buildings and grounds should an incident arise.
How quickly do you think? Minutes?
It would depend on the situation, its location, as well as which building it was in.
Brandon Oxley was a member of the first class of Capitol Police investigators in December 2005. He served as a police officer in Macoupin County before and says he still receives additional training for the Capitol Police job.
We spend a lot of time each year in-service training dealing with the scenario-based training of situations like a hazardous material spill, an active shooter, threats to the building, even fire alarms.
The Capitol Police has been in jeopardy of getting cut altogether before, as recently as last year. If the income tax that expired at the end of 2014 wasn't made permanent, you were afraid the Capitol Police would no longer exist.
I thought that whoever the governor would be at the time would be concerned about balancing the budget. And sometimes when it comes to balancing a budget, some things may not remain in place.
White and Roberts say the Secretary of State Police Department, admitting it can be expensive, has been unaffected by the state's massive budget cuts so far, important for the protection of the Capitol complex.
I don't see providing less protection than already exists. If anything, I see us increasing our numbers, or I would like for us to increase our numbers, to increase our presence.
Is this Capitol Police force in honor of him?
Not so much in honor of him, but because he made the ultimate sacrifice. At the same time, the people of Illinois will benefit from this tragic situation. It's sad to say that they're going to benefit from it, but other lives will be saved as a result of him giving of himself.
Bill Wozniak is still remembered today. at the Capitol with a planted tree.
A reminder to us each time that we walk past that bad things can happen here and that we need to be prepared for a response and be prepared for those issues to take place.
In Secretary of State White's office.
Since he passed away, I told his wife and his family that he would always be with me. And every day that I come in this office, he's right there.
And by his longtime friend.
It's constant. I mean, I look down the hallway and see Bill.
From where?
Yeah. Break.
His sacrifice, says Roberts, a lifetime.
Unfortunately, if it wasn't for him, you know, I can't say that the Capitol Police, or his sacrifice, that the Capitol Police would have ever been developed.
We did reach out to the Wozniak family for this story, but they declined our interview requests. Every September 20th, the Capitol Police holds a moment of silence for Bill Wozniak to remember the sacrifices he made and the inherent dangers that come with their job. Back to you.